Hey guys, I'm Nate with Spotter Up, and today we're going to be taking a look at the X5 Legion from Sig Sauer. Let's get to it. So what makes the X5 Legion different or better than the X5 that we're already familiar with? And the answer is the tungsten infused grip module. Sig Sauer did some voodoo. They found a way to put tungsten inside this grip module when they molded at the factory, and that gives us a heavier gun. Sig Sauer says this gun weighs 43.5 ounces, which makes it pretty hefty, which gives us the benefit of less recoil impulse. The heavier the gun, the more the weight soaks up the recoil, which theoretically gives us faster strings, faster follow-up shots, which is pretty cool. If you're a competition shooter and you're familiar with the weight limits in the various divisions of USPSA and things like that, you'll know that this gun is about as heavy as it can be and still make weight for production, which is, again, pretty cool because you get an out-of-the-box gun that's ready to go for production or throw a dot on it and carry optics. Overall, out of the box, this is a pretty cool gun. So we've talked a little bit about that the weight of the X5 Legion is what makes it the most different from the original X5. So then the question is, how does it shoot? Does that added weight really translate into a noticeable difference when you're shooting this pistol? And the answer is yes. Yes, it does. The added weight does exactly what you would think it would do, and it helps absorb some of that felt recoil, which means your sights, little stubby things on top that some of us don't always use, they track faster, and when the sights track faster, you can shoot faster. And if you're into competition or having fun or winning, shooting fast and accurately is like a thing that we strive for. So a gun that helps you to allow you to do that is definitely a plus. But not only that, Sig put in a 1911 style guide rod. So you have a one-piece solid steel guide rod in here, and this gun ships with two different recoil springs, so you can kind of tune it right out of the box to your ammunition, which also helps the gun track. And if you want to get crazy with the Cheese Whiz, then you can go out and source different weight springs, and you can really dive into the minutia of tuning this gun to run like the proverbial sewing machine, given your ammunition choices. So the gun shoots really well, and with just a little bit of tuning, this thing just runs very, very, very well. It's a blast to shoot. The next part of how does it shoot is the accuracy. Is the gun accurate? You know, Sig says they put in a match barrel. So what does that mean? Well, the gun is accurate. The gun shoots very well. It shoots very tight groups. It shoots nice tight groups even when you run the gun pretty fast. As long as you're willing to do the work that you're required to do to make the gun run, the gun will do exactly what you want it to do. Very accurate, very capable, very fun to shoot, and significantly softer, flatter, faster, whatever that word is you want to use when you compare it to the original X5, or in my opinion, when you compare it to other polymer guns. This gun is really starting to shine. So we know that the X5 Legion shoots. We know that. We've talked about that already. What then the next concern is it reliable? We know it runs, but does it run consistently? Yes, it does. Like I said, I'm at 3,000 rounds on this gun, and take a deep breath, wait for it. Zero malfunctions on this gun, and 3,000 rounds, and I haven't cleaned it. I kind of disassemble it, drop some more lube on some of the wear parts, put it back together, and keep shooting it. And at 3,000 rounds, the gun is not choked up on me a single time, which makes me very happy. Now, full disclosure, when we talk about reliability, there are a few points on this gun that I do want to mention. If you shoot in the iron sight configuration that it comes from, there is a small pin that holds the rear sight in. We'll get some close-ups of this later. and that has started to walk on me. So it's not going to keep the gun from running, uh, but when that pin starts to walk, it makes you wonder what the rear sight's doing. So I have to keep tabs on that. This is not this has just happened right at the 3,000 round mark. So just something to be aware of. And then the sight plate itself, yep, it's just a hair loose, which means you just got to pull it off, take out the guts, put a little Allen wrench in there, and tighten up those screws. At 3,000 rounds, as much wear and tear as you get on a reciprocating slide, you would expect maybe some of those screws to walk a little bit. So it doesn't necessarily take away from the gun for me, because the gun itself has not malfunctioned once. So I just have to keep an eye on those screws and put them back where they're supposed to be. Alright, so now that we're inside, we're going to take a closer look at the X5 Legion, kind of dive into the parts and the features a little bit more, get some close-ups, and talk about what makes this gun special. So we're going to start with the slide and take a closer look at what's different on the Legion than on the original X5. And the main difference is the optics cut. So for comparison, I have an original X5, and you look at them, if you look at the front of the slides, they're identical, but as you move back towards the rear of the slide, you'll notice that the optics cut on the Legion is significantly longer. And the reason the optics cut on the Legion is longer is this was cut to fit the Sig Sauer Romeo 1 Pro optic, and it has a little bit larger footprint, and it also fits the Delta Point Pro. You can run other optics, but if you want to run other optics, you're going to have to get a plate to interface with that optic in this slide cut. There's plenty of manufacturers that have those, but it's something to be aware of. The other difference on the top of this gun, and we'll pick this one back up for comparison again, is in the top of the barrel, at the barrel hood, there's a port cut out here in the Legion, and that serves as a loaded chamber indicator. So when there's brass in there, you can actually look down and visually verify that there's brass in the chamber. The only downside of that is when you're running an optic, you will get some gas coming out of there that's going to get on the screen of your optic. So some people like it, some people hate it. It's just something to be aware of if this is something that you're looking at. So the next thing we want to take a look at is the trigger. Sig Sauer went ahead and skeletonized this trigger, which gives it a distinctive look, and it looks different than the original X5. And they say it comes in lighter. So we went ahead and took a look at that, and to save you guys the pain of watching me do math, we did that off camera. So I'm going to show you. I wrote these down by hand, so please excuse my childish handwriting. But if you take a look at this, these are the numbers that we came up with earlier today. So we have the Legion, we have a X carry in a stock configuration, so you can compare the two, stock trigger to the new Legion trigger. And then this is my X5 with the Gray Guns trigger, and that's just kind of thrown up there to show you what you can do with the triggers in these SIGs. So the Legion, our average was 3 pounds, 7.2 ounces on the trigger pull. And for the X carry, it was 3 pounds, 15.3 ounces. So the Legion is about 7 ounces lighter consistently, which is pretty cool. And it feels pretty good, which is nice. So we've spent some time talking about the weight of this gun, the tungsten infused grip module, and the gun being heavy, and how that helps with the shooting experience, taming the recoil, and it's really what makes this gun special. That being said, we wanted to put it on a scale for you guys and actually see what kind of weight we get. So, empty gun and empty magazine. And let's throw this on the scale and see what we get. So Sig says it's 43.5 ounces, and my scale is giving me 2 pounds, 11.6 ounces. So for the mathematicians in all of this, that's 43.7 ounces now. So with the difference in scales and conditions, that's almost identical to what Sig advertises the gun at, which is pretty cool. You get a nice heavy gun, and it's just neat. Alright, one of the other cool features about this gun that we want to show you guys is Sig went ahead and changed up the recoil rod and spring setup in the Legion. So we're going to go ahead and crack this open and give you guys an up-close look at that. So what they've done was they went to a more traditional 1911 style guide rod and spring. So you get a one-piece steel guide rod, which is pretty beefy, and then you get springs that are not captured. And they actually include two different springs in the box, so you can kind of tune the spring weight to your ammunition right out of the box. You get a 12-pound and a 14-pound spring, which is pretty cool. And for comparison, this is the recoil rod and spring from my original X5. So it's quite a departure from the original. You get a much beefier rod, and then like I said, you get the opportunity to change out your springs to kind of tune things for your ammunition specs. So that's a pretty cool feature on the Legion. It's definitely a departure from the original gun, and in my opinion, it's definitely value added. Another thing worth talking about is the magazines. So with the X5 Legion, Sig changed up what they put in the box. With the original X5, you got 4 magazines that were 21 rounders. With the Legion, you only get 3 magazines that are 17 rounders. Now the magazines are nice. They're 17 rounders, they're black, and then you get these Henning Group base plates that are stamped with the Legion logo. So they look cool. They've got a good texture on the bottom. They're flush fitting, especially with that magazine well on there, which is nice. But it is kind of sad, in my opinion, that you're getting 3 instead of 4 magazines in the box with the X5 Legion. So it's not a deal breaker, it's not the end of the world, it is something to be aware of. Okay everybody, all good things must come to an end, so too must this review. This is the X5 Legion from Sig Sauer. Bottom line, at $900 you get a lot of gun right out of the box, lots of nice features, it's a fair price point. If you're looking for a new pistol, you should definitely consider this. It's got a lot of really desirable features, and this thing shoots very well. That being said, we'd really appreciate it if you'd go over to spotterup.com, check out our website. There's all kinds of gear reviews and articles on there for you guys to check out, as well as you can get some pretty cool apparel like the shirt and the hat I'm wearing. But we'd really appreciate your support. Thanks a lot, guys. Stay safe.